tell a little about your diagnosis?
Okay, well, what happened was, it was about 9 years ago. I was having full body shaking. So my physician, my doctor sent me to a neurologist. Big mistake. Let me close the door. Big mistake, because they always want to diagnose you with some little label. So they told me that I had FND, a functional movement disorder, and I had Parkinson's. They didn't know what kind of Parkinson's, because mine had started very differently. It usually starts with your hand. So what happened was, they gave me all this medicine and gave me a big book this thick. I immediately, in the lobby of the hospital, threw the book in the garbage can. And I became very depressed because my mother had Parkinson's, and then she had Lewy body. So it was very serious. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to rot away. My brain is. So I decided at that time that I was going to try to look at the symptoms that I have individually and treat the symptoms. So I started with my diet. And then I started also looking for like a holistic neurologist, which is impossible. I mean, I ended up having to go to Stanford and UC, which are prominent teaching schools, medical schools. But the only thing that seemed to be working was the essential oils, changing my diet, more doing different types of exercise. I went online and looked for years. And the FND is kind of funny because it means that you can get rid of it. Some of the doctors would be confused because the FND was very similar to the Parkinson's. So even one doctor had given me a prescription of the medication, and it said start with three pills in the morning, 3 pills in the afternoon, and 3 pills. I mean, that was really crazy because it raised my dopamine so quick. That made me sick. I mean, I think they just didn't know what to do, you know, and I joined all these support groups, and the support groups, everybody was into taking all these different medicines, and I tried a little bit of them, but my body just told me it's very sensitive. At one time, I think I was on 20 different pills, and I'd try them one day and then get rid of them and go back to my essential oils. So what happened was I found you online, and you made totally good sense to me that I could remove the things that were causing me to be upset, that were triggers from my childhood. And I just started getting better and better. I mean, remember, I used to have such terrible, like I didn't have any dyskinesia yesterday. Some days I do, and I know when I'm going to have it, when I'm pushing myself. But you kind of gave me answers. And that one of the big things was I was terrified. I was really scared of having it because of what happened to my mother and seeing what happens to people in the support groups. And I'm not so much afraid of it anymore because I feel like I have ways of dealing with it that I didn't have before. But it's been about 9 years now that I've had it. And I just saw my neurologist last week, and she said, "This is amazing. You're not getting worse, you're getting better." Because I was unbelievably sick when I first got diagnosed. I mean, I spent a lot of time in bed. I hardly could work, just not very functional. So I did a lot of mindfulness classes, and tired from getting my PhD in Parkinson's. Having that label put on you and then having them hand you a big book with all the medicine that you can take, that's frightening. You feel alone. But I feel like if I have you helping me, then I'm not so alone. And I can ask you questions even in the middle of my night, or my night is your daytime. So it's nice to be able to ask you a question.
So the time you were the worst, if you call that at 10, how bad were you when I met you the first time?
8 or 9, because I had dyskinesia so bad. I had dyskinesia every time I took the medicine.
Yeah.
When I was coming off the medicine, and the dyskinesia was as bad as the Parkinsons. You know, it was so intense.
How bad are you now?
Well, like yesterday, I had hardly any symptoms. So it was maybe like a 2. Who knows what today will be? And that's another thing I've learned, is that every day it's different. You know, that's something you got to accept. It's not always the same, even though you take the same amount of medicine.
What do you think about the biological explanations I give around these things? Dopamine, the fight, flight, and freeze, and
That makes total sense. I mean, because when I'm walking and I freeze up and I can't walk, that used to really scare me. So that made it worse. But we've had many sessions about that and getting back walking. I like that we have figured it out, you know, and figured out what is causing the fear, like the cabinet in the hallway. It's mind-blowing to pick apart and figure out what's causing the reaction. And I still, on my own, am thinking about that. I don't have that when I go out of the house so much. Like we went to this mall yesterday to do something, and I realized I had been walking and holding my cane up because it was in the way. I don't need the cane anymore. And then when we came home, I was able to walk through my very crowded artistic house and not have the freezing. And if I do have it now, it's sort of like, oh, whatever, I'll just get going. But I'm having it less and less the more I'm empathetic.
how has your life changed?
Well, like I can have a dinner party Saturday night. I haven't had a dinner party in years. I mean, I've just started having them. So I can see old friends. I can go and do more things. I can go to a museum and not feel scared, afraid, or ashamed, or worried. My life has opened up. And one of the things I like to do is set goals, because goals make you make more dopamine. So my goal is to get back to where I was before I was diagnosed, and be able to walk more and do more things, participate in art shows, do more things that I want to do.
If you take the life you had before, where there was some stress,
Yes.
and the life now, you are not going back to the exact same. What has
No.
changed?
Well, having control of my life, you know, having a say and having a self. Yeah, I don't think I had that. And that's how I got in the mess that I was in. That's how I got sick. So I want to go back before I was diagnosed with the illness, and have the physical things that I had. You know, I would go outside with the dogs and walk for a couple of miles. I want that to be one of my goals, is to get back to the physicality that I had. But I don't want to be back where I was mentally, because I said yes to way too many things, and it really was too much. And finally, my body told me, hey, I've had it. So I have to sort that out. And you have to slow down when you make those decisions too, because some of them are, oh, I can do that. Well, things have changed. Maybe you don't want to do that. And it does change your personality. You know, I'm not near as social as I used to be. So.
But that sounds as a bad thing. What's the good thing about it?
It's like there's a person in me that I didn't know I had. And so it's sort of fun to explore that person and what she wants and likes to do. And it's really nice to be, how do I say, kind to the person that got ill. It's really nice to know that person and respect that person and what that person needs.
Yeah. So in Coachland, which we can say you come closer and closer to the authentic you. What do you think about that?
I looked that up, and it's true. Yeah, I was the person, I really wanted my kids to love me. I really wanted my friends to like me. And I really had a lot of people in my life that did not belong there, that weren't nice to me, that took advantage of me. And I had very, very low self-esteem from having all these bad things happen to me when I was a kid and growing up, even as an adult. So now having the choice and knowing that I don't have to put myself through things because I want so-and-so to like me, it's so nice. Yeah, it's like I'm a different person than I thought I was. And I'm trying to teach my husband, because I hang out with him the most, and I'm trying to teach him how to put himself first too.
As I can hear, it's the whole family that is benefiting from this.
Right, right. At first, when I started doing this, I didn't tell them. I just started changing. And then they got really mad because I wouldn't do things like I used to do. And I never did say anything. Now I'll come in and say, how would you guys like to ... or go here or there? But before, I would be afraid to mention it, or I would go along. They call it accommodation syndrome. So I definitely do not have that anymore. I'm not a bully, I don't make people do things that they don't want to do, but I'm certainly more self-assertive and a lot more careful with my body, what I eat, how I exercise. And then that's influenced my son. He started to take better care of himself. Yeah, so it spreads.
So you are the good role model because they can sense that something is going on.
Right. I was paying attention to what other people needed. I can think of a couple of failed relationships that have caused me pain. But in the long run, it's better that I don't have a close relationship with certain people in my life the way I used to, because it's very depleting.
If you should explain to people what sort of disease Parkinson is, what would you tell them, this relationship between the physical and the mental? What's this all about?
Well, I think I actually had a physical reaction to doing things that I didn't want to do, like going to dinner with someone that I knew was going to be so boring and just talk about themselves and not ask me one single question. That would make me sick to my stomach, literally. But I would still go out, and there's just so much that you can take. And people don't mean to be like that. They're desperate to be heard or listened to, and they're needy. But so am I. I'm sorry that it took me so long. I'm 70 years old. I wish I had gotten to know myself better, like in my 20s. So it's important to me that I teach my granddaughter this too. And my daughter is really into being self-aware. So I think it's sad that it took me so long to learn this, but I think it'll also add to my life. I'll have healthier years, not so troubled.
So what should people do? Should they try a lot of things themselves, or should they reach out for help from me?
Oh, I definitely think should, people should see you. I've told people about you. I mean, it's a different concept. It's a new concept that you can remove chronic illness from your body. And I think you're like light years ahead of everyone, way ahead of everybody. But it's like a new type of experimental surgery. You know, you're removing things that cause disease, unhappiness, and oh God, I used to be so chronically stressed and never even thought about it. I just kept on going until my body just finally gave up. But Parkinson's, there's a lot of different flavors of Parkinson's, so it's difficult to treat yourself. I'm naturally somebody that loves to look on the internet and find things that are alternative. I don't just drink the Kool-Aid. So it may be hard for people to understand. I just really want to make sure that people know that it's possible. It's very possible to remove the things that cause the Parkinson's symptoms. I mean, being a nervous wreck, being depressed, being overly worked, forgetting about your body, all those things you're going to pay.
So one way or another, you knew that this was the root cause to your symptoms. So what were your thoughts in the start? You haven't heard a lot about me. You just reach out.
Well, I was fed up with my doctors. And every time I left, I was traumatized. I felt like they didn't know what to do with me. And I felt like a project that they were experimenting on. I've seen like 15 different neurologists. And it just rang true to me what you were doing. And then when we started to work and the trauma started to come out, so we'll have a session, right? And then what we've talked about will end up staying with me, how we worked with having an older self take care of me, knowing that there's somebody there.
What do you think about doctors' view telling people that they will not become better, but on contrary, worse and worse? What do you think? How does that help people?
It's like the worst thing you can say to somebody that's not well. And every time I would go, oh God, not again. Don't you have any answers? What did you go to medical school for? Yeah, their whole thing is medicine. And I still take this cinnamon, but I only take a tiny bit, and I'm trying to reduce it. So I'm not taking hardly anything because I hate the dyskinesia. Yeah, the doctors, I feel sorry for them. They didn't know what to do with me. But I knew when I read about what you're doing, I just intuitively knew. I remember the first 3 times I had shaking. The third time, I was picking up these big rocks and throwing them because I was really mad at something that was going on. And that's when the handshaking started. And I wish I had met you, back then, but it's okay. I've bought some time now.
And the quality of your life will be 10 times better from now on.
Definitely.
So tell a little about your job, that you actually are helping your clients with what I teach you.
So I'm an esthetician, and people are very concerned about aging and their face sagging. And so I noticed that people will start to look a lot older when they're very stressed. They look chalky, they look sort of, the skin looks flabby. It doesn't look like it has water content in it. And so during the facials, I'll ask them, like, how did you get this scar? Or people tend to focus on wrinkles like right here. Well, that's because they're stressed. They're going like this. They're constantly trying to figure something out. And so I've talked to them about this, how to remove the stress on their face, like a natural facelift, and how to get their face to soften. Because if they pay attention to their thoughts and their past, things that have happened in their past that cause certain wrinkles, they can soften them up by working out those traumas that are on their face. People have a lot going on their face. Oh, when I was young, I fell on my skateboard and chipped my tooth and cut my lip open. Or the most common one is somebody is sticking their face right in the dog's face and the dog bites them. So I've been working with people to release the memories, and they really think that it's softening their face up, that they're not frowning as much. And they don't know that I'm doing a Lilian on them, though. They don't know that. So it's been helpful that way in my life to help people in my business.
It's amazing. I mean, you have done the job. You've been doing a lot of writing before we met about your problems. So you're ready to do the job. You're also courageous that you dare to talk about this. There's not a lot of people that dare to talk about their improvement. So I'm very happy that you dare that.
I want other people to get better. Even if you just want to get rid of one thing, it would help. One thing that bothers you daily. Like, I'm too short, I'm too fat. All these things that you where do they come from? They've got to come from when you were a kid. Or, you know, what's funny is I think about the good things that are the good memories. I'm trying to make more good memories and have them installed in my body and call on them when I'm not feeling so great. And that's kind of new for me. That's kind of different because I'm getting rid of so many bad memories. Now I have room for fun memories.
So now you're going into a good spiral.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Try and describe, I think it's 4 months since we met the first time. Try and describe your journey these 4 months.
The first time we met, it was very intense. When my hands shake violently, I had been trying to stop them, like going like this, but you were wanting me to get it out, you know? And so now when I do that, it doesn't last very long. So that was a really important thing to learn. And then the tapping. Tapping is hard for people with Parkinson's, especially if you have a, shaky hand. But that's a whole new thing that I learned in the last couple of months, how to calm myself down.
Were you doubting that it helped, or?
No, because I felt good the first time we did it. And then I felt better each time. I mean, we hit on some really big things, but then I decided to, start writing down things that were bothering me in a diary. And it was like a grocery list that I wanted to check off. I found that when I went to bed, I wasn't so anxious. Or when I had to I hate going to the doctor. So when I went to the doctor, I didn't feel near as anxious. It was it was not my mind telling me that I was better. It was my body finally got heard.
Perfect. So you
Yeah.
are becoming a lot better to listening what's going on.
Yeah, especially like if I need to rest or what my body wants to eat. Sometimes we don't agree, you know. I maybe want to stay up a little bit later than I normally do, but my body lets me know. Yeah, and I think my body is grateful for me listening to it now, because I feel so much better.
So you are rewarded.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So there's a few people like you that sort of are looking for alternative help, and these guys have been jumping after me as soon as they heard what I'm doing. Then there is a huge, I think, group of people that say, I don't believe that I can do it. What would you tell these people?
Well, it isn't easy, but if it's worth it and if you're willing to do the work, you'll get very rewarded. Very rewarded.
What did you use of time per day?
Well, I don't even think about that because it just comes so natural. Like we'll be in the car and John will say, "Do you want to go to the grocery store?" "No, I want to be dropped off." Before I would just do what he would want to do. But after a while, it's not a chore to figure out how to not be accommodating or to be kind to yourself first. So I would say it's every minute I'm awake. I'm thinking about what's the right thing to do.
And how long time did it take before you changed your mindset to this?
Maybe after about 3 sessions, I got the hang of it. But I can always call you or contact you, and you always had answers. You're always there for people.
What should people think? You are going not back to who you were, but to a new state.
I don't look at it like I'm curing my Parkinson's. I mean, I have it and it goes up and down, but I can manage it a lot better, and it's not so scary, and it's not something taking over me. If people knew that they had this option, even let's say you just wanted to learn the tapping, to learn how to get rid of anxiety, that would be very helpful for everything. I just don't think of it as like something I'm doing just for my Parkinson's. I'm doing it for my life, for how I'm going to live my future. I'm learning how to handle my body and listen to it. I was just expecting to learn how to manage it without medication. I think the body has wisdom and understanding and is forgiving. And this method is perfect for that type of theory. But will it get rid of my Parkinson's? I'm not concerned with getting rid of it. I don't have that anxiety anymore.
In a year from now or 2 years from now, how are your symptoms compared to now?
One of my goals is I want to get one of those electronic bicycles. I live on a very steep hill. So I'm hoping that a year from now, I can ride my bike up the hill and ride it down to 24th Street and have my physicality be improved. So that's one of my goals. I do yoga, and my yoga has improved. My physical therapist said yesterday that I can do things that I couldn't do a couple of months ago. So because I'm not shaking so much. And yeah, I mean, it's fun to have a goal and give myself that gift.
Everyone has I call it a basket full of stress symptoms. And your stress symptoms we call Parkinson's. And some other have got another diagnosis, but it's stress symptoms. All of it.
Some people have headaches or stomach aches or lungs stuff.
So
yeah.
We just go with whatever is, and you become slowly better and better. So we do the possible instead of focus on the impossible.
Mm-hmm. I like that. But I can understand people being skeptical. I open up my emails and there's at least 20 emails, somebody selling me some kind of pill or something to get rid of it. But for me, this worked to remove the stress in my body that was causing me to shake so much. It just made so much sense. But I would encourage them to read through everything, and there's a lot of free information, and see if they can do it. And if not, you're there for them. It's nice to have, and it's not that expensive, compared to all these things that people do, so. It's
an investment in your own future.
Right, it's true.
So there's a last thing you want to tell people?
Well, to not give up and to have faith and to know that there's kind, healing people like you out there that can help. You really care about people, so I think to be your authentic self. I usually don't like things like that, buzzy things, but just to be yourself is so nice, and to get to know yourself and to have the hope that you can after you get ill is nice. It's I wouldn't want to wake up without hope.